Hi, it's Brendan Payne. I'm with Century 21 Expert Advisors here in Charleston, and today I've got three of our top agents here in the market and in our office to just share a couple of things in terms of what their experience has been since they got into the real estate business, some of the challenges that we know that new agents face in the market, and just going to have some quick conversation and see what comes out of it. So, Katie, I know that you've been in the business for a while. Tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, how you got into real estate. I know you've actually been licensed and we're working in a different type career, and then how you made the switch to go in full-time in this business.
Yeah, so actually I've had my license for 11 years, but I've only been using it as my career for the last 3 years. Before this, I was in strength and conditioning, and I was in the college athletics.
Okay.
That's what I did for a living for about 14 years, and the last 10 of it was in strength and conditioning specifically. I got my license when I bought my first place, my first condo, and I thought that it was just necessary, as easy as it was, that I should have my license to be able to use with friends and family. Making the transition, basically I made the decision because I wanted to be down here, and I also wanted to move into a career where I had a lot of control over how much money I made and my schedule.
Okay.
Those were the two biggest drivers.
So be able to have some freedom and then have, like we all, I think at some point have thought about having an unlimited ceiling in terms of income potential.
And just to be able to have control over it.
Yeah, exactly. What instead of working in the normal, I get a raise every year, actually having some control over, you get compensated for what you actually put into the job.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Terry Lee, how about you?
Well, I've been in real estate for 3 years, had my license for 3 years. Previously, I worked for Southern Wine and Spirits, and I grew up in Summerville, went to college at Charleston, so been here my whole life and love the area, so I decided to give real estate a try.
Okay, so you were actually in a different sales industry then?
Correct.
Okay, did that play into a little bit of your decision to get into real estate? Was that kind of like the next step that you saw for a while, or did it just kind of come up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a brand specialist before, working the Charleston market. So I was out and about, and I liked having some freedom in my schedule. I liked being able to kind of, the day before, kind of figure out what I needed to do the next day, map that out, how I was going to work across the Charleston market. And I can see some of those things that kind of got me into real estate. I allowed me some of those same freedoms, controlling of the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. All right, and Brian, then what's your story? How did you end up in this business?
Yeah, well, I moved to Charleston when I was 18 to go to Charleston Southern University. Graduated from there and started a career in the hospitality industry that spanned about 20 years. And 3 years ago, I sold my businesses and decided to start my real estate career.
Nice. Okay, so Brian, when you were making that transition from the hospitality industry into real estate, or thinking that was a possibility, what were some of the challenges or some of the barriers that you saw that you needed to kind of get some answers to or break through before you decided to actually make the move?
Yeah, and one of the things I did was I spent a lot of time researching the top producers in the industry to find out exactly what were they doing differently than most of the other agents out there, because we know most agents in this market are only doing 3 to 5 deals a year. Mm-hmm. So I researched, found some of the top producers, and found that they were using a heavy prospecting-based business model to produce at a high level, and that I found those guys, and that helped me make my decision.
Okay, good. And Terry Lee, I know with already having a career in sales and having something that's kind of established, sometimes it's tougher. You see something that you want to do, you see the opportunity, but you also see some of the challenges that it's tough to make that break from getting a check every week to getting into real estate, which we all know is a commission-based business and there's no guarantees. So how did you kind of get through some of those challenges in order to actually start to make the move?
Sure. And that definitely was something scary, getting a paycheck every 2 weeks and benefits and all those packages that come with that type of employment. So it was definitely something I did my research. I interviewed with multiple agencies, multiple companies in the area. and found some good, strong players in the area. Really talked to them, tried to find some really strong mentors that would help me with that. And it just kind of took a leap of faith. I knew I wasn't going to get paid that Friday, but I wanted to work hard so I might get paid the following Friday.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know, your circumstances, the way that we met when we, when we started Expert Advisors, that you were kind of already in the business. But I think, and you and I have never really talked about this, but I think there were probably times where when we met, you were kind of wondering whether or not, is this really going to work out? Because I know there were some challenges in terms of what you were promised was going to happen and what actually happened.
Correct. Yes, I had my license for a few months before I came over with you guys. And yes, I was kind of at the end of the rope going, either something has got to change or I'm going to have to go submit some applications and go back to the 9 to 5. So that definitely was scary. Everything just seemed to fall into place when we met. When I got over to Expert Advisors, it was so life-saving, career-saving.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's, I think that there's always a match between the person and the business plan or the business model that they're going to work well with. And that was one where I think we just got in under the wire. Because I think we both would have missed out on a good opportunity for sure. So, okay. So Katie, you completely different industry like me. I didn't come from a sales background. You didn't come from a sales background, had a license really more just as as kind of a second thought, and then decided to make that move. What's your story? How did you decide like, okay, here's what I've got the feeling this is going to make sense. I'm going to make the move.
There was a lot of research, just like the other two said. And I wanted to make sure that I knew as much as I possibly could before coming in. And one of the challenges that I was really facing was, what is the process that I'm going to follow? Mm-hmm. Where, I've met my mentors, I've met the owners of the company, and they all had great stories and, examples of how to do well in this business. But what I was looking for is for somebody to tell me, follow this map, and we can't guarantee that you're going to, succeed over and above. But if you follow this map with your skill set, that you'll be okay and you'll be able to make this a career. Mm-hmm. That was really big to me. Not to just hear the success stories, but to see the path that they took. Yeah.
So, just what I'm hearing you say is, if you knew you could do it, you knew you had the confidence that you're going to be able to succeed, but you still, if you're going to make a move like that, going from an income to no income, even if there's a ton of potential, you have to be able to connect the dots between, all right, this is what I'm seeing somebody do, but I need to be able to look at the plan that I get up and do every single day. And as long as I'm willing to do that, then I should be able to get what they've gotten. Is that kind of what
that's exactly
the process you went through?
Everything about the business was very appealing. We already spoke about the freedom, the control, but that's what really pushed me over the edge and said, okay, I have a roadmap. So if I just follow these steps, then I'll be okay.
Okay, great. So all three of you guys, once you made the move and decided, all right, I'm going to treat this, because you all started full time. You all went 100% in. You weren't trying to get out of, transition out of something, which sometimes can be the right thing for new agents, and sometimes it can be a challenge because you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You guys went all in and really took off pretty quickly compared to other agents in the market. By industry standards, your production is significantly higher than where most other agents are. After, maybe 4 or 5 times more time in the business, you're still out producing a lot of those people with a lot more years. So what types of things did you have to learn in order to help you get started that quickly? And we'll go, Terry Leaf, go ahead and if you can answer that first one.
I think one of the most important things was the scripts. We were given, or you gave us scripts to use to know what type of conversations to expect, and then how to respond to certain questions, how to handle those conversations. I think that was the most important thing to make me feel comfortable and picking up the phone and calling people, whether that was a true cold call or it was calling my centers of influence, my friends and family, just being able to be comfortable in those conversations.
Yeah, so the scripts are, and that makes a lot of sense because the scripts really are, real estate, like any other industry that you guys were all in, it all has its own language. And I think when I made the move, that was definitely one of the things that was concerning. I understood the process. I understood, how a transaction works, but I didn't really understand the different conversations. So that is a big part of it. And, I think it gives us all a little more confidence when we know what to say in a certain situation. So Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I would say the scripts are a huge part of it. In this business, you can not have a lot of skill, but just know what to say to people. And you can make a lot of contacts without a lot of knowledge or skill in terms of the conversations, but you combine the two and you can do big business, as we've seen. So I think knowing what to say is certainly a huge part of being a top producer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Katie, what besides knowing what to say and scripts and learning the language, what else do you think was gave you the opportunity to be able to get to a pretty good production fairly quickly?
I think one of the biggest things was treating it like a 9-to-5, in the sense of having my accountability to be in the office every morning and to set a schedule and to stay with that schedule. So making the contacts and getting the experience. One of the things that really hit home with me is the coaching that the more conversations you have, the better you're going to be. So have a ton of conversations and it's going to make the learning curve a lot shorter. So I got on the phones and just talked to anybody that would talk to me. And I think that really sped up the process for me.
Good. So you said in the beginning that one of the reasons that you got into the business was the freedom. Mm-hmm. Yet you just said one of the things that got you to where you needed to be and got you there quickly was actually the discipline of doing the stuff you needed to do on a daily basis. So how do those two, how does that happen at the same time? Because I'm in 100% agreement with you, but maybe you can explain that.
Well, it wasn't something that happened overnight. The freedom was great, and then you realize that the question of, are you really self-motivated, or were you just in a structural setting where you had no choice but to show up? So balancing that act, so making sure that when I have the freedom to go or not go, or I have the freedom to make the contacts or not make the contacts,
right? And
then making the decision and the ownership of it was really big in that. So yes, I have the freedom, yes, I have the control, but I also know that I have to own my own production. So therefore, I'm accountable to myself, not to somebody else. And that's another really big part of this business.
Yeah, and I think you guys have all figured out that the freedom, because we've all said that. We got in, we want to be our own boss, we want to have some freedom, we want to be able to write our own schedule, make as much money, and help as many people as we choose to do. But that freedom actually only comes after the discipline of doing what you need to do on a daily basis, because the freedom is actually what people go out of business for in a lot of cases, because they don't stick with something, they don't treat it like a real job. So that's a great point. One thing that I know changed after I was in the business for a few years was I think my eyes were open to the possibilities that were actually there once I got in and understood it. So once I got through that part of, am I going to be able to turn this into a career? Am I going to, be going back to try and put in applications somewhere? Once I got past that and knew, okay, I'm stabilized, I'm going to be okay, then it's kind of opened my eyes in terms of the opportunities that were out there once you could really understand the business and start producing at a high level. So now that you guys have been at that level, what do you see? I mean, kind of what are your career goals that you're seeing now?
Well, my career goals, they have changed a little bit. Not a lot as in actual numbers, but as what has changed for me is it is limitless, is what I see now as a endless opportunity. That following the structure, following the plan put in front of me, basically I know that I want to surround myself with the infrastructure in order to service the clients at the specific level that I want to, and to be able to do the numbers of business in the business that I want to. Of course, ultimately, I would like to do 100 deals on a regular basis every year.
Okay, great. Okay, Terry Lee, what business goals do you have?
I think, like Katie said, they've kind of changed since the beginning. Now I'm looking to really to expand into a team format, to have some additional buyers agents, maybe some additional showing agents, to really get that team rolling. Since we've got the systems in place, I have the day-to-day operation, and just being able to expand out from that and to be able to service even more people.
Okay, great. Brian, how about you?
Yeah. Being associated with the folks that I got in this business with, my coaches, my goal has always been to do 100 deals, 100 transactions a year. Now that I've been in the business 3 years, I think that's attainable. So moving forward, I want to build a strong team, service my clients at a very high level, and consistently do 100 deals, transactions per year.
Okay, awesome. And I'll keep it with you, Brian. So, new agent that's out there that's thinking about getting in the business, or possibly an agent that's out there that is, they've have a few deals under their belt, but maybe they feel like they're stuck and they need to really they're trying to find a way to break through to the next level in terms of production. What advice would you have for somebody like that?
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. I would say hire a coach, and hire a coach that not only teaches a prospecting-based business model, but has implemented that on his own and shown that he can do 100-plus transactions. That's absolutely the recommendation I would give for any agent getting into business.
Okay, and why? I know that's all that that's where you came in. That's where I came in. That's the business that we've learned. But what makes that, in your mind, the way to go versus, because there's hundreds of coaches out there that all teach a different model. And frankly, all the models will work if you work them. But what's important to you, in your mind, what's important to you about self-generating your leads? Because that's really what you're doing. That's the prospecting part of it. For those in the audience that may not know, that's really what that means, is that you're self-generating versus relying on leads that are given to you or you're getting from a service or something like that. So what's important to you?
I think two things: control and finances. At the end of the day, you're in this business to make money. And when you're self-generating, you could, as my coach used to say, we could drop you off an airplane in the middle of Arizona and you can go start a business and be successful very quickly. So one, you can control how many leads that you're getting each day by prospecting. And two, your bottom line at the end of the day is going to be a lot thicker as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the profitability and then predictability.
Yes.
That what you're doing every day is going to result in something.
That's correct.
Okay. Terry Lee, how about you? Advice for a new agent or somebody that's, kind of stuck, or where you were at the time where you're just kind of like, man, I'm going to have to go back and start filling out applications somewhere.
Sure. I definitely think, finding a coach, finding, if it's not a coach, a mentor, or even just maybe somebody that's in the office, a peer that you guys can set up some type of accountability system. I think that would be important, no matter kind of what level you want to hire a coach, or you want to find a peer that could keep you accountable. I think that would help break through some of those plateaus.
Okay, great. Katie?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the same things, but a couple of things that are different that I would say to a new agent or somebody who's struggling to do the production they want: make sure that you do the research, you set your goals, and then set out a plan to reach those goals, and then follow it. As simple as that sounds, it's harder than it sounds. To surround yourself with people that you know are going to support you, and surround yourself with people who are trying to do the same thing. I would think that in any career, it's hard to succeed when you don't have people who are trying to do the same thing around you. People who have like goals and have the same ideas about the business and have the same standard of business that you do.
Okay, great, good. Great information, guys. I appreciate you sharing this stuff with the audience. I mean, you guys have obviously taken what we've given you guys and really implemented it. Because at the end of the day, we can give ideas and suggestions and coaching to anybody, but it's up to the agent to actually go and implement in your business. And you guys have seen what hard work and dedication and working the system is going to do. So thanks a lot. And again, Katie Austin, Terry Lee Moore, and Brian Heatherly.